Hey guys, Tina here and welcome to another wrap-up. This is only my second wrap-up of 2019, so I have not been reading all that much, but I feel like things are slowly picking back up, that I'm getting in the rhythm of reading again, even physical books, which has not been the case in the last year. I mostly listen to books, and even that has been sometimes pretty sporadic. There have been a lot of changes in my life. As you can see, I have moved, and this setup is definitely not how I want to film my videos, but it'll have to do for now, or I will be trying different things out, but for today this is going to be it. Anyways, I did read some books, and the first that I want to talk about is Anne Bishop's Wild Country. So this is a book. It's an urban fantasy that takes place in her Others world or series. This is sort of the continuation of that series that started with Written in Red that I talked about a lot in my videos. And so again, I'm gonna go through the spiel, but I feel that if you have been watching me since the beginning, you will already know what these books are about, basically. So we have people fighting against nature. Nature is in this world very powerful. It sort of is humanized in a way. So basically we have different creatures such as were creatures and vampires, and even natural phenomena such as tornadoes or seasons are sort of shaped as humans or animals or things like that. And the nature is actually the more powerful here. So whenever humans step across some boundary, she fights back and sort of pushes us back, and I really like the concept of that. Anyways, we follow the story of this small town, small community that has been, due to human actions, has been basically wiped out, and slowly they're allowing humans to come back in, and it's all controlled by nature. So obviously humans have to behave or they will be wiped out again. But of course there's some people that want to sort of trick nature and her elements and her creatures because they think they're smarter than they are, and it's just again basically that struggle again between nature and humans. So again, we follow a bunch of people that come to live in this town and try to make a fresh start there, and I just really like this one. I definitely preferred to the previous one, which was Lake Silence, and I just love this series. But yes, if I'm completely honest, things are starting to feel similar and not as fresh as the first original series is, but so far I'm still liking them, so I really enjoyed this one. The next book that I want to talk about is actually a romance novel, and it's by Lisa Kleypas, and it's called The Devil's Daughter. So this is sort of a sequel to a book that was published in one of her previous series, and I think it was the Wallflower series, The Devil in the Winter or something like that. So basically we follow that male main character's daughter in this story that I read, and basically we learned that she married her childhood friend, and they got along really well together. He was sort of sickly, and he was bullied in school and by this guy that of course she has a very bad opinion about, and then because of his sickness he died, and he left her alone with 2 children, and she has been in mourning since then. But now there's this wedding that she has to attend, and she stumbles across this bully from her husband's past, and she doesn't really care for him at the beginning at all, but as they sort of talk and get to know each other, she learns that he's not necessarily as bad as her husband made him out to be. Of course, children have different perceptions, but people also grow up. So that's what this guy did, and he's not a bully anymore. He's perfectly okay, and he's also very invested in developing the agriculture of estates, and she's actually struggling with that with her husband's estate that she's taking care of for her children, and of course they sort of get together, which is of what this is all about, honestly, because it's a romance book. It was not my favorite. It was not bad. It was okay as these books go. I'm really I think I mentioned this a few times before. I'm not I'm sort of jaded when it comes to romance novels, but it was fun. If you're not, if you're new to romance, I would be perfectly happy to recommend it. But as someone who has read a lot of this stuff, I was not impressed in any way. So that's what I thought about it anyways. So the next book that I read was actually sort of started off in the same way, and it's Bloodleaf by Crystal Smith. So this is a new release, and I saw people talk about it here on BookTube, but I never really paid attention before to what this is about. So I didn't really know when I bought it what this was about, because I just saw it in the bookstore and said, well, you know, I got these gift cards and I would like to spend them, and I saw this one and I said, well, why not give it a try. So this is young adult fantasy, book 1 in the series. Not sure what the series is called, but I think so far it's only Bloodleaf. And we in the story follow a princess of a kingdom, and she's also a mage, and magic in her kingdom is very much prohibited and frowned upon. They burn the witches and things like that. So there's actually this institution that does that, and people are very much afraid of magic, and because of that, I guess they're afraid of her as well, although I'm not exactly sure how they know that she's a witch or a mage. There might be something about her eyes, but I don't think that she actually did anything that people would know about and fear her because of that. So I'm not exactly sure about that. But anyways, she does something that actually reveals that she in fact is a mage, so she cannot hide it anymore, and she has to go on a run with a bunch of people that she knows from her childhood, and some of those betray her, and she has to go on a run on her own, and she goes to this other kingdom whose prince she was actually supposed to marry. She's sort of engaged to him since childhood, but they never met, and she obviously now doesn't have to do that, but she also is not sure how to get into the city, because in order to get into the city you have to cross this wall, and it's protected by magic, so you have to have certain documents to get through the wall, basically, so it would let you in, the magic would let you in. And yeah, of course she gets those papers and she gets in, and unknowingly she then stumbles into this whole conspiracy to bring this kingdom and city down. So she starts fighting that and trying to save the city, honestly, at the beginning of this book I felt like, oh, what the hell did I do buying this book, because I really was not sure that I was gonna like it. It felt like it's gonna be really one of those tropey YA fantasy books that I've read so many times before, but then actually pretty quickly, I think it was, I'm not really sure if I had to read like 50 pages, but it did pull me in and I did end up enjoying it. Well, it's not completely original. There are definitely things that you have seen. If you have read a lot of YA fantasy, you have seen things, similar things in other books, but all in all, sort of the blend of everything was okay, and there was definitely a few things that I definitely did not see coming, especially towards the end. There's some things around one of the characters that were, I felt, pretty obvious, but our main character does not see through that. Aside from that, I did enjoy it. Of course, there's also always the dilemma with me whether or not I'm going to continue on with the series, because with YA trilogies or series, I'm finding it harder and harder to find interest by the time the next book comes out, which is usually about a year. So I cannot honestly say that I will continue on with the series. Maybe, maybe not. So yeah. Then I was supposed to read a few books for the Owls Readathon, and I actually started a couple of them, but I didn't finish them. I actually DNF'd one, and that is The Shock of the Fall by Nathan Filer, which is a very popular book, and I just couldn't get into it. It tells a story of two brothers, and something happens to one of them, and then we find out what that was through the story of that the other tells us, and it's really fragmented, and I just couldn't get into it. It was so long, and I just couldn't find myself to care about the other brother that was still alive. And all in all, I'm pretty sure that it's a good book because people love it. So it has to be me, that I just didn't connect with it, the characters and the story. And I think mostly it was probably the way it was written. And I'm pretty sure that it's great in regards to mental health and those aspects, but I just couldn't get into it, so I decided to just DNF it. I do not want to spend my time reading books that I don't connect with. So I did that, and I've read also a bit of another book, but since I didn't finish that one, I'm not going to talk about it, but I do really want to finish that one. So anyways, but I got distracted by another series. That was the main problem why I didn't do well at all in the Owls Readathon, and that was the Rhaenyra Revelation series, which is, well, it consists of actually 6 books that are, well, okay, I'm not going to be able to do this, that are all bound up in these 3 books, and I just really wanted to read them. Actually, was a reread because I already read them years back, and if you watch my last wrap-up, you will see that I've read Age of War by Michael J. Sullivan, which is part of the First Empire series, which is going to be 6 books, and that's the 3rd one. And it's sort of a prequel series to this one. So things that happen in that series are sort of myths and legends in this one, because this one takes place, I don't know, 1,000 or maybe more years after that one. And I really wanted to reread these books because I remember loving them, and I just wanted to see how, because I have forgotten obviously, how those events in the Age of War, how they are played out in these books. So that's what I did, and I've been listening to these books now for about a month, or I don't know how long, and I love this series and I do recommend it, so I will try to go through it just quickly. So the first book is Theft of Swords, and of course it consists of 2 books, and then we have Rise of Empire, book 2, and it all ends up with Heir of Nevron, which is the last one, and I just finished it before I started filming this. So anyways, this is a story of 2 guys who are thieves and potentially murderers, for hire mercenaries, more than murderers, and they're called Royce and Hadrian. And in book 1 they stumble into this conspiracy. They are hired to do some job, and it turns out that it's not exactly what they thought it was, so they have to save their asses basically and do a whole lot of maneuvering and shenanigans to do that, and also save the kingdom that this is taking place in. And from that, each volume sort of builds on that story and the conspiracy that is taking place behind the scenes that they're not really aware of at the beginning of the story. And I really like these books. So we have humans, we have elves, we have goblins. I don't know, have a lot of different creatures. There's a bit of magic, but it's not a lot of it. Very few people possess it. It's more, swords and medieval stuff and things like that. And I always thought that I already did a review for this series, but I've looked through my backlist of videos and I realized that I didn't. So it would definitely be fun to do that, but obviously a lot of other people have done that. If you want to learn concrete things about it, you should maybe go check out Sam's Nonsense channel. I think she did the whole series review. But honestly, what I would say about this series is that if you want to get into fantasy and you're trying to find the perfect gateway to do that, I think this series is perfect for that. It's really easy to get into. The writing is quite well, if I say simple, it's going to sound maybe not that good, but it's really easy to get into. The learning curve is not steep at all. The characters are likable. It's all about adventure and just a great time. So these, they're big, but they're easy to get through. So I would definitely recommend them if you want to start or if you want to give fantasy a try. So yeah. Anyways, those are all the books that I'm going to talk about in this video. I'm really more happy. No, I'm not thrilled with my reading, but I'm definitely happier than I was in a long time. So yeah, hopefully my next wrap-up is not going to be all that far into the future. And until my next video, thank you for watching this one and see you then. Bye!